Welcome to Mr. Cynical.
Hello and welcome to Mystical Cynical. My name is Darren.
And I'm Jamie.
19 episodes in.
I sounded like I just was like, and I'm Jamie. Crossed arms.
The introduction doesn't feel like it feels get any more comfortable.
No.
Well, here we are.
Here we are. Keeping your spirits high. Wearing the shirt.
I was driving home from dropping Dale off at school, and there was a man who I don't know how to say it in the most kind way, but he's struggling with life, and he may or may not be have a home. He may or may not have employment. It's kind of that, those people that live on the kind of the outskirts of society. Mm-hmm. And he was like on his knees. He was on both knees, and he was getting up to one knee, and he was trying to like hold onto the wall of the Ojai Museum and like pull himself up. And I'm looking like, what do we do? Do I pull over and help this man? And I think that I should. And then I also be like, I'm not going to stop and help this man.
Yeah.
But he's just left there. Like there's no committee or organization that's like, oh, we got him. We'll go over and take care of him. I'm sure the cops will probably go and fucking tell him to move along type situation, but it's just pretty sad.
Oh yeah. No. And there are some in town, there's an art to this homelessness.
In this town in particular.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a way that you could do it. I imagine outside of the winters, the cold of the winters, you could do it quite successfully, because this town is probably the most conscious community I've ever lived in. And it's not to say
even
that
more than
perfect.
LA.
Yeah. And it's just, there's a regard. And there's like no, you go first. Mm-hmm. And people say hi to each other on the street, and they go out of their way to wave. If they're in their car and you're walking, mm-hmm. I get waves.
For sure. Yeah.
And
sorry about that.
It always impresses the shit out of me. And there's this one woman named Hilda who I saw for the first time at Libby Park. And she was wearing a beanie, and then she had a mask on, and her whole body was kind of covered, and she almost just looked like, there's this weird scene in Mulholland Drive. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, the David Lynch movie.
I try to forget it.
Yeah, no kidding. No, seriously, that one's really challenging for me.
Shit for me.
Yeah, totally. And his films prior to that had some sort of storyline. Every once in a while, it'd get weird, but this was just like, whatever. And I remember not liking it. But there's this weird scene where somebody goes out behind a dumpster, and there's like this being that's just covered in layers of rags and all kinds of stuff. You can't even see their human face. And this loud music shoots out of nowhere, very David Lynch. And seeing this person, it was kind of like, it was sort of like that. Like they were so layered, and it was just like, there's a person in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. I can't even see the person. And I saw them that way the first time. And then about a week later, I was walking through the park with Sia, and Sia was ahead of me. This is my daughter. And she's 11, and she was walking well ahead of me. And I saw her approaching where this woman is, and who I didn't even know was a woman at the time, and the woman pulled down her mask and smiled just to not scare Sia.
Wow.
Like knew that, was not so lost in whatever was going on in their lives that here's a kid. I want to connect innocence to innocence is what I took it as. Mm-hmm. And it meant so much to me. I cried. Mm. And a few days later, I introduced myself. I walked through the park, and I was on my way to a session. I used to do sessions at the park, and I saw this woman there, and I said, "Hey, how are you?" And she said, "I'm good. I'm Hilda." And I said, "Oh, I'm Jamie." And we started up this conversation. And I said, "Listen, a week ago, I saw you, or a couple of days, I saw you talking to my daughter, and you pulled down your mask to say hi to her." And she's like, "I just wouldn't want her to be scared." Mm. And like the gravity of that, someone saying that about their own life, that it could present as that, and the groundedness in which they said it. I developed a friendship with Hilda. And so I like go out of my way now to like, I've introduced a lot of people to her so people could know about her. I've given her blankets, food. One time I was I was doing a session. It was a really heavy session after like working through a major trauma, and there was some resolve, and we were walking, and Hilda came out of nowhere, and she had a vase full of beautiful flowers. I don't know where it came from, but she just gave it to the person. There's just that's part of the art of it, but there's a mysticism in homelessness as well. Like I saw this one person years ago wearing a sign that said, homeless is a spiritual journey. And I was like, that guy gets it. You know?
Right.
And there's just some things to work out in this life. But anyway, Hilda is around and she's really nice. And then other people I've known who are more challenging people somehow like get into disagreements with Hilda. It's like, God, it's so easy for me. It's just so easy. Just, come seeing what you can do and, and try and connect. That's a human being in there.
Well, it's weird that there's like a community within that, like a human community. And then within that, the subsect of people who are, there's a politically correct term for it. And, God help me for not knowing it, but the people who we see, in the parks and on the sidewalk and things, that within there, they have their own, hierarchy and their own, sort of just ways, dynamics of relating. And I think, a testament to your ability to reach out to people and in contrast to mine, where I so frequently would engage organically with somebody who, God, can I have a term? Can I just call them homeless? Yeah, please.
Yeah.
I know that's not right.
I was homeless. So I'm a part of the demographic. Okay. So yeah, you're not offending me.
So
I was homeless twice.
So hard.
Yeah.
And so, I often find myself not, or going out of my way to not engage. And then most recently, Delu and I were down at the beach in Surfers Point in Ventura. There's a woman there who has her stuff laid out. And I'm always surprised at the amount of things that some homeless people have where I'm like, I feel like you'd want to lean towards more of a minimal life, but you have things.
Yeah.
And she had them, kind of spread out. She was taking up a fair amount of area, and Delu was kind of going towards that. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, don't go over there because I'm going to have to engage with this person. And I'm going to have to act as if they're not a human being, as if they're not as if there's some other species where I'm like, let's be careful. We don't know what this person's capable of. All these stories where I'm immediately, and of course, Delu, innocent, just fully like no filter going in there.
Totally.
And the woman was sitting on a bench and she was just scrubbing her hair. She was like washing her hair. She had some shampoo and she was just sitting there like giving herself a way more vigorous hair washing than I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah.
And she's scrubbing her hair, and then Delu goes up and says, hello. And she says, hi, I'm, what's her name now? I forget. But she was super sweet, and then she just started engaging with Delu on a totally normal human level. And my fears and all my paranoia started to kind of simmer down. And then I started to speak with her, and it just like had to push through that barrier of like, why should I treat this person any different? She's obviously gone through something that's led her to this, whether it was by choice or by not. It's like none of my fucking business as to like why. And there should be no judgment as to, because she's living a completely different life out there. And she was so sweet and kind to Delu, and she just was like giving her time to Delu, and it was amazing. And then when we were leaving, we were driving away, and Delu was like, I wish I can remember her name now. But he was like, I'm going to miss her. And I'm like, yeah. And we were like doing, I'm like, that's because you care about her. And that whole like, sadness is a remembrance of love.
Yeah.
And we're driving by and we rolled the window down, we waved to her and she waved back. But it was just like, I can only get these new lessons through my child of just like, don't go in with these preconceived notions or these stories, this bullshit.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you're talking about this, and you're not talking from a place of authority right now. And so like anyone that feels the need to like reach out and try and correct your experience, just save it. Like, like honestly, because the way that you just talked about it is a very human way that like, it's at least how we all start out.
If using the H word or not
just the complexity around, do I go, what do I say? Like, how do I address this? I experience that every day, and I was homeless twice, and I still, there's a bit of a complication, especially when you're with your child. You're dealing a lot of times with mental illness, and you just don't know what you're going to get. Yet I go out of my way to try, but it's calculated. Like if I was with my 3-year-old, I don't know what I would do. I've worked in mental health so long too. I know all the different extremes and the variables that can go into interacting that really, somebody who's dealing with mental illness is like dealing in this expansive side of their mind. Like they're just like seeing and hearing and living in multiple realities. And that's just all expansion. And usually the best way to address and to have conversation is to bring it into a space where it's sort of not as expansive, where you can just communicate almost in this very direct way without all the stimuli.
Yeah, because you don't want to, it felt, she was talking about, she was kind of mumbling and her speech wasn't super coherent, but she was talking about how she lost a child. Like she was looking at Day Lewis. She's like, she reminds me of my son who she had lost. And obviously oh my God, just the gravity of losing a child and where that brings you in life. And I'm like, what do I say? And then, it always just is my lesson to just be there to hear and to bear witness to it and not say the right thing, as I often kind of put myself in this paralyzing position of needing to say the right thing to somebody. Right. And so to just be there and I think I hope that was meaningful to her. Most people just pass her by.
Did she have the shorter hair to her head and sort of a very red face?
She is tan. She's Hawaiian. I got that out of her.
She's Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Huh.
She's,
okay.
But yeah, she was even talking about awareness of the woman that pulled the mask down. When Daly went over there, she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, my stuff's all over the place." And the awareness of she's got her shit spread out. Maybe she's dealing with some level of when you have some rational side and also an irrational side of just you do that, you spread all your shit out, and then it's only when someone comes over you're like, "Oh God, I'm so you become apologetic for it."
Hilda is on that side of things. She has a whole apartment.
Does she? Basically. She's over by the toy store. And,
yes.
Which is interesting because knowing kind of the level of the way that this community keeps everything street sweepy clean, that she's allowed the space to kind of spread out on those little medians in the parking lot.
Yeah, they don't take issue.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen them drive by.
Do you think that's a testament to the level of forgiveness or consciousness in this community?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, certainly. Because you go anywhere else and there's harassment. It's where do I go? Yeah. Where do I go? There's no hospital for me. There's no shelter. Exactly. Hilda, one time I was with my mom and kids and and Lacey, and we were coming out of Westridge, the grocery store here in town. And I saw her and I went up to her and I said, hi. And I just love going up to her being recognized with a name. Mm-hmm. I just know what that feels like, and to have somebody talk to you when you're at a really low point, it means the world. And so I went up and talked to her, and she was kind of had her arms behind her back while she was talking to me. And then I heard this crash, and behind her, she dropped a 40 ounce and it shattered all over the ground. And I could tell she didn't want to let me know that she was medicating herself with alcohol. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, do you want another? Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh no, that's okay. And I was like, no. I want to get you this, it's one of the only things, unfortunately it's taking the place of a human being that day. It's that relationship thing that I was talking about. Do you want me to get another thing to help you in this moment? Her going through withdrawals on the street is not any better, so I ran over, everybody's waiting. I ran on foot over to that liquor store that towards the top of the, and got the exact thing that she had, brought it back to her and gave her that. And it was done. I want to help whatever way is going to help, and I think that was something that probably would have been more on the more rare side for her to encounter that day. But there is a relationship, and I really dig her. And if you ever see her over in that area, if you're from Ojai, just see if you can help. She's great. She's really great.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny to think that it's, for me, it's in a fear of being into a conversation. When you guys asked me a while back whether or not I make small talk with or whether I talk to cashiers when I'm checking out, and I don't, because it's it's a fear of a conversation not going at a rhythm that's going to wrap up to and now we're done. And it's you get into this weird staccato kind of thing and getting into to just even the dog park thing where you can just go up and like talk to somebody where I've already like boom, boom, boom in my mind being like, this is just going to end so awkwardly and there's going to be silence and that's going to be deafening for everybody. And just this whole story. There's not a freedom around just like conversing with somebody on a casual level.
Well, that's a pretty amazing thing, because what I wanted to bring over today and read from this book is about communication. And
You read books, dude.
It was, you told me to bring this. Yeah, it's from that Zen book. And I keep reading things in here that are just, that I've wrestled with the concepts before, but this is always in a new way. And it has to do with communication. I just want to say, before I even go into this, about your last comment that I hear you talk about the limitation of that experience, and you're not the fucking author of it. This isn't like because you were born as somebody who, like, this is a long standing conditioning that went into you being somebody who thinks about communicating in a way. This might hurt. Stay back. This might hurt. This might hurt is really what your mind's saying. And it's still these echoes of the past is my take on it, So it's hard for me to hear you talk about like it in a way of like, oh, I'm failing and like this thing, because you're not. It's a very common experience, and we haven't been taught like how to openly trust. It's another thing with the mind. Like everybody's trying to get the fuck out of their minds and like killing the ego and all this stuff. Like that's not the goal for me, at least. It's like, I believe that we can get to a point where we can trust our minds again. Like you can trust your mind to get you through this thing. You can trust your mind to talk to this person, to deal with whatever comes. You can, trust it to make decisions about your life without, knowing how it's going to turn out. And my job really mostly, I think, on this planet at the time is just to help people trust their minds again and reclaim that ability, So anyway, this is from that Zen book, and I'm just going to call it that, but it's about communication, and it says, when we say something, our subjective intention or situation is always involved. So there's no perfect word. Some distortion is always present in a statement. But nevertheless, through our master's statement, and this is just talking about the guru-student relationship, we have to understand objective fact itself, the ultimate fact. By ultimate fact, we do not mean something eternal or something constant. We mean things as they are in each moment. You may call it being or reality. To understand reality as a direct experience is the reason we practice and the reason we study Buddhism. Through the study of Buddhism, you'll understand your human nature, your intellectual faculty, and the truth present in your human activity. And you can take this human nature of yours into consideration when you seek to understand reality. But only by the actual practice of Zen can you experience reality directly and understand in their true sense the various statements made by your teacher or Buddha. So hold on, I want to get to where it is. Let's see. Oh, here we go. When you listen to someone, you should give up all preconceived ideas and your subjective opinions. You should just listen. Just observe what is. We put very little emphasis on right and wrong or good and bad. We just see things as they are and accept them. This is how we communicate with each other. Usually when you listen to some statement, you hear it in the kind of echo of yourself. You're actually listening to your own opinion. If it agrees with your opinion, you may accept it. But if it does not, you will reject it and you will not even really hear it. That is one danger when you listen to someone. The other danger is to be caught by the statement. If you do not understand a statement in its true sense, you will easily be caught by something which is involved in your subjective opinion or by some particular way the statement is expressed. You will take what the person's saying only as a statement without understanding the spirit behind the words. This kind of danger is always there. It's basically saying that whenever we communicate, we're never really communicating.
Yep.
We're only taking it by, so all these conversations that we're talking about, like having meaningful conversation, that might even, we may not even know what that is. Meaning in a thing is that where two subjective opinions agree? Right. Is that meaning? Or is there the ultimate meaning, which is you hear a lot more going on than even the words. The words are so limiting. but it's like a way.
Well, maybe it's like a balance between you being heard and you hearing. So not maybe not, because maybe it doesn't need to be 50, like to come out of it and be like, I heard what you said and you heard what I said. So I feel that like, that feels like meaning to me.
Yeah.
Or if the person who's speaking needs to be heard, if 100 or close to 100% is being heard, that's meaningful because you're, I mean, I guess just getting through that idea of like either waiting for your turn to talk or only filtering it through like, that's not what I agree with. So I don't even hear it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a fucking challenge.
It is. And they say that like that most of the communication that happens, what was it? Like most of it that happens is, well, I forget, brain fart.
Yeah, that's fine. I heard that 60% of all statistics are made up on the spot.
I'm sure that's true.
I was kidding. I just had a brain fart too. And a butt fart.
Oh,
wrong sound bank. That was supposed to be a fart. I don't know if it's any relevance to anybody. We're recording on a Monday. We normally record on Tuesdays. So case of the Mondays might be slipping in a little bit.
Yeah. A little bit.
How are you doing otherwise?
I'm doing well. I heard this beautiful violinist yesterday out in front of Rainbow Bridge, the famous Rainbow Bridge. And I could hear it from far away and it was like fiddle, but it sounded like expert level precision on this instrument coming from far away. And as I walked up, it was this androgynous being, like in red and amazing, like style, just playing outside, like the most beautiful fiddle. Like I couldn't believe that a person of this caliber was standing here playing, busking. Young person named Corwin, who I just sat and listened to with Billy, and Billy was just like soothed or something, like just laid down on the pavement. We just like listened, and I got to talking with this person, and they asked any requests, and I said, Dear Prudence. And they played this version of Dear Prudence that the Beatles song that they made their own. Like I've never heard someone really play a composition where you can't really tell what the song is because it's such a composition on top of a composition. And the weirdest thing happened where a kid that works there, I think, came out, got into his car, turned on his music, and was in the parking lot 15 feet away from this violinist playing hip hop out of the car with the rolled down window. And I was like, I could, and I can't get mad at it because I understand what it's like to be that kid.
Yep.
And go fuck the world. It hasn't ever listened to me. And fucking, I'm going to play my music. I'm off work now and, let the chips fall where they may.
Yep.
And then I know also what it's like to just bare your soul and be out on the street and like trying to make something happen, and I'm sitting literally in the middle of these two things going like, this is humanity and I can't really have an opinion on this. I can't take a side. Yeah. Everybody's right here.
That's a tough one. I was in a similar situation yesterday, went to the beach and we climbed down the rocks and found our spot between two parties of people and both had music playing. And one was, I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Yeah. The other one was na 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 Gettin Jiggy Wit It. And my head fucking nearly split down the middle of like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Shit.
And we were talking about the kind of just the level of disregard as a species we have towards each other, where Viana and I both found that to be pretty like, it's rude to assume that everybody wants to hear your fucking Will Smith playlist.
Yeah.
And so, and then amongst the beautiful, the crashing waves and the birds chirping, and we have these people who are like, I don't give a fuck. Right. And then there's a family who's just, I was like, it was a very challenging experience yesterday because there was like, they had their kid and the kid dropped a juice box on the sand and then like threw a fucking bubble thing. And I'm like, I'm going to give these people the benefit of the doubt that when they leave, they're going to go around and pick up all of their items. But I was so just wanted to passive aggressively go and like scoop up their trash for them and be like, I'll take care of this, Right. So to be in these situations where, we're amongst fellow humans, fellow people of the same species, and we're all acting completely different from each other. And we're all like, because like, how do you not have judgment in that situation to be like, we're sharing a space? Like, keep it to yourself as much as possible, or I don't know, that there just seems to be a level of disregard and to have to just accept that.
Yeah. Or move. I mean, yeah. And it's not always easy to move.
I prefer to be much more passive aggressive about it. A lot of those.
Yeah. No, that experience.
I guess just move, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, to bring it back to the Buddhism thing, I think I might've said this before, but the Buddha said, you can't pave the world in leather, but you can wear shoes.
And you can get jiggy with it.
In those shoes, you may get jiggy.
Wait, say that one again. You can't
pave the world in leather, but you can wear shoes.
Yeah.
And so this is the idea of like, hey, to begin to fix this scenario, you would have to have a week of just going through their childhood and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And like resolving things. Like that was the thing about the story of the woman above me with the stomping. Like like, what did I expect when I went up there that one time before I met her? Like to change her in one conversation, she's going to change this pattern.
Right.
And this pattern of like bringing your experience loudly out into nature.
Yeah.
Is like the level of regard that's missing is not going to be instilled by a conversation with somebody on the beach who all they're going to hear is,
judgment.
You think you're better than me?
Yeah.
That's the basic deal. And so I move in those situations if I can't tolerate it. But I've been in that situation so many times, and it's like a mini version of like purgatory.
Yeah.
You're just stuck in this thing. Wait, I can't go because then I may lose this spot, but I really want to be here at the beach. And it's tough. Like,
yeah, the beach teaches me a lot of lessons around us cohabitating as humans, where I've gone down and just picked up trash because I get so frustrated with it that I'm like that level of like, okay, I can move over here, but there's trash here. I can move over. And it's just like, okay, what can I do in this situation? I'm going to get one of those little grabby things and a little trash bag and I'm go around and pick it up like that. To me, feels like the most direct action in situations where you can say, I can't stop you from littering, but I can make myself feel better by picking up your trash and doing it not resentfully or passive aggressively, doing it because it's like, I'm going to feel better because this is gone. I don't see this anymore. So trying to find that in your life, I think is probably helpful.
It is.
And I don't know if you can apply the trash grabber to whatever scenarios in your life.
Oh, you use the grabber?
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Ugh, so gross. I mean, it's so gross. It's so gross. Even,
it really is.
Even the extension, the 4-foot extension, I'm touching, I'm still can feel it like running up through the grabber into my hand, like picking up someone's cigarette butts. Ugh,
yeah, no kidding. Yeah. And well, so that's really great. And there's a thing that you can, if you want to turn that into even deeper spiritual activity than just the act of cleaning things up, which is amazing that you do that. It really is. I don't do that. I mean, it's not like I wouldn't, but it hasn't come natural.
I mean, I get it to the point where something bothers me so much that it pushes me into action.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing.
No, it is, of course. And that's the thing where we were talking about anger. It's fine as an emotion as long as you watch what vehicle you put it into. And in this case, you put it into the change of like, I'll go be the change that I wish to see. Yeah. And that's what you were doing. And then as you're doing it, I was just taught like, there's nothing in this world. And I brought it up a lot of times, but there's nothing in this world that we have to hold on to. We can share everything, and you can, while you're doing that, just visualize more people doing it. Just a little extra credit on the act itself is like, just envision more people doing it, like open up, what we're learning, at least on this show and in our own lives separately, is that there is some crazy shit going on that we don't have any rule book for. And we're just experiencing it, trying to make the most sense out of it. And also knowing when to abandon trying to make sense of anything. Right. And it happens all the time. I mean, just walking out the house here, you can run into somebody who you were thinking about or whatever it may be, it happens to us a lot and our listeners. Yeah. Well, on the note of imagining or using kind of a mental picture of seeing other people do it, I certainly enjoy the fact that it's visible that I'm doing that. And I've shared it on Instagram before, not in like a braggy way, but in a way of like, hey,
like, I guess I don't really maybe know truly what the intention is of doing that, where people are going to see me do that. And I hope that it would spring some action. And I've even like considered loosely organizing like a trash pickup day. I know that's like not a completely novel thing, but like just really seeing the small ways that you can make a difference. And it feels, I mean, it's so hard to not just feel like completely overwhelmed to be like, we've picked up 700 cigarette butts in this like 10 square foot area. What the fuck does that really do? But trying to take it to a point of like, well, it cleaned this 10 square foot area. Like
Absolutely.
Really taking things into perspective. Cause I know I can personally get really overwhelmed when you're like, well, what's the point of doing anything? We live in a trash world. The ocean is full of fucking garbage.
Yeah.
And honestly, like with litter and things like that, to me, that's, of course it's got an environmental perspective to it, but it's also like an aesthetic thing. It's just like, it's just gross looking. It just like shows us that we're disregarding our neighbors and we're not appreciating this common space. And so it's just like an aesthetic, like just, it feels good to me to not see trash.
Yeah, no. And that's one of those think globally, act locally things.
Yeah.
Like there is a butterfly effect of you cleaning up that tiny area. You know, I don't know what it is exactly, but
cleaning up all those dead butterflies. That's the butterfly effect.
From choking on the cigarette butts. So we got a message from this guy, Trevor Long, a week ago. And it kind of has to do with, you know, we're getting so many of these stories of people who are connected to the show who now are experiencing like astronomical synchronicities. And so this one has to do with sort of time being irrelevant and future memories and synchronicities all in one. So this is from Trevor Long, and he says, I don't know what else to do with this, so I'm just going to write it down and send it in a message. This afternoon, while I was out walking my dog and listening to the latest episode of the podcast, at a certain point, the two of you started talking about karma, living a virtuous life, and specifically reincarnation. At around the 1 hour, 8 minute mark, Jamie says, it's just virtuous and destructive. Right at the moment you said the word destructive, I heard a crashing sound and realized that a car had hit and jumped the curb just a few feet behind me.
Jesus.
Thankfully, the driver reacted quickly enough and swerved away right as I looked back. Once they straightened out and returned fully on the road, they sped up and drove away without stopping. I was immediately in a kind of shock, and it took me a few moments even to realize what had almost just happened. It was just that at that moment that I remembered the last time I was standing in this exact spot 2 weeks earlier. On that day, I had been out walking and listening to a different podcast. In that particular episode, the host was describing the story about the Pollock twins, twin girls who are often referenced as proof of reincarnation. If you're not familiar with their story, I highly recommend you looking into it. But the brief summary is, in England in the 1950s, two little girls were tragically killed in an auto accident after a car lost control and hit them as they were walking on a sidewalk. A year after their death, their mother became pregnant and gave birth to two twin girls. The twins had birthmarks that resembled those of their older sisters and soon began to describe memories of places they'd never been and things that they'd previously belonged to the other girls. All of this leading to their parents to consider the possibility they'd been reincarnated. Flashback to 2 weeks ago, I was out on the walk listening to that other podcast right when the host described how those two girls had been struck by a car and killed. I was made so uncomfortable that I stopped in my tracks and looked around for cars. The exact place where I'd stopped was the exact spot where walking earlier today, the car jumped the curb. Oh, and one more fun detail. I just checked, and the title of the other podcast of the episode is Mystical, the Pollock twins. Anyway, that was my day. Thank you both for creating this podcast and for all that you do.
Jesus.
So that future memory, potentially, like stopping there a couple of weeks. Oh my God, can you imagine that happening to me right in that spot? The 108 mark is really interesting because that's, how many lives the Buddha had. That's how many beads are on a mala.
Here we go.
108 is like everybody sees 11:11 on the time. I always I always stop things at recording at 108, not knowing it. Lacey's like, look.
Yeah.
Why do you always pause things at 108? What the fuck, And so he had that feeling. He shook it off. 2 weeks later, he's listening to us. And the thing happens that he was feeling 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
How do you make sense out of that?
I don't think you can, and I guess that's not the point.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not the point.
You put it in a DM and you send it to Mystical Cynical.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks for that story, Trevor.
Yeah,
It was
Jesus Christ.
unbelievable.
Man. Don't leave the house and listen to our show at the same time.
That's the real message. Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. I feel weird.
You got a bunch of. Hey, can I show you this real quick?
Please. Oh my God. Amazing. Was this the 90s or 2007? Yeah.
2007.
Okay. Yeah.
But check it out.
So
Open
I'll
it
show
up
it to the people who actually watch this show. This is the album that Jamie recorded in England. Mm-hmm. Do you still listen to it?
I have not listened to it in a long while. So as you can see, flip it around.
Sorry. Wait a second. So, wow. There's a few questions right off the bat.
Sure.
So when they said they wanted you to come record an album.
Yeah.
That's
my band.
Got it.
The Holliston Stops is my band that was on that 70s show and Third Rock and all those stories you heard about a band that I was in. And so we broke up, and then years later we got this opportunity out of nowhere after doing film and TV music to go and make this record, like put the band back together and go record. The band was just me and my friend Schmedley, he was like a keyboard player for Weezer, and he's played in lots of great bands. And most genius musician I've ever worked with, and we were kind of like the John and Paul. So this person I've been doing film and TV music was a fan of that band, and he was like, I want to put that band back together and have you make this record. And I raised $300,000, and that's really what the budget was for a week recording at this place.
Wow.
A fucking week.
Wow.
London Symphony, 2 choirs, a gospel choir and a huge traditional choir.
Yeah.
And then just all the, I was like, can we get a sitar player to open this song? I'm like, yeah, we got a sitar player. And they had just recorded the Beatles' Love, which is like the accompaniment to the Las Vegas show. What's that show called? Yeah, Beatles' Love. They had just recorded that there the year before, like some orchestral pieces to go with it. And I'm like in the same room where all this stuff has gone on. The music chart to Yesterday, the accompanying string part that George Martin wrote is like right there in the hall when you walk by. It's amazing. It was just an amazing experience. It came out of nowhere and nothing really happened from it. But it just, as I said last time, it just shows what's possible. You're holding something that's 14 years old. Yeah. That is now like we're talking about as if, you're holding a concrete thing of some art that I made that didn't do shit. And it still represents the world to me of what's possible.
Right. And I see your cynical approach to your thank yous. Do you want to say who you thanked first?
Who did I thank?
God, parentheses, Santa Claus.
Yeah, I was
Might
struggling.
Be a little offensive there.
No, somebody called my music partner at the time. He called God. He said God's like Santa Claus.
Got it.
Just people just talk about God like they just, hey, give me this, give me that.
Oh, right.
Yes. And so I was making fun of him. But flip it around. Show the.
Hold on one second. Yeah. What's the meaning of your middle name being Soup?
I never told you that.
No.
So when I was like 18, I had this girlfriend who. She was like, you're not like, and she's really pretty and cool and like goth. She was like super goth, those like boots that go way up to the top of your knees and like huge like platforms and just black all the time, and had this like bob and kind of dominatrix genre. And she drove a Suzuki Samurai, those little things that could flip. They used to flip over if you turned too hard. And she was like, and her name is Barbara, which is a dying name. And she said, you're not like a Jamie or a Chris, you're more like a Soup. And I was like, what is that? And she's like, you're like a mix of things. And she started calling me that in front of my friends, and they started calling me it, and I didn't like it. And then at one point I realized like, oh, this is actually a compliment. Yeah. And so I went with it, and that I was Soup Carpenter from 18 to 26 when I got sober.
Jambalaya.
See this thing, there's the bowl of soup there. I guess God. I could get into it. The original one was just, I used to sign my name as like a line drawing of a bowl and a spoon.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what this was. And you can barely see it, but that's like the bowl shape, and the spoon.
Jamie's pointing to his forearm right now. I guess that's probably traditional Japanese style, but then thrown in some of your own flair.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this tattoo is this one that I'm showing the people who are watching YouTube is, the listener, the person who owned the tattoo shop in Pasadena, is a listener of the show. I have not been in touch with him. I didn't know, like he was like, hey, so I've been listening to the show and you said you were from Pasadena. Did you ever get a tattoo at Incognito? And I was like, all of these are from Incognito. And he's just somebody who's been listening.
Dude, good Lord. So what did you want to show me on the back of this?
Oh, just show them the records themselves
CDs.
are really
These are called compact discs, folks, who, for those of you who don't.
And pull one out. Let's see here. I'm going to go look at and see that.
Where would you even put that?
Let's see. And they look like albums and they're black on both sides. Isn't that cool?
Sweet, black on both sides.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So one CD is all the regular versions. And then this CD is just the orchestra playing our music. It was so crazy to be in there to watch the symphony do stuff with their music sheet in front of it and like my name next to it. And all right. It's just unbelievable. So I have a bunch. This was wrapped in plastic today. I broke the seal to bring it in to do this, and I have stacks of them. So I think we'll probably I would love nothing more than to give these away to people like Patreon. This will be a Patreon thing. Oh, sweet. Yeah. Maybe I have some stuff in the closet that I want to get rid of too. Well, this might be a good segue to answer some of these questions. Sure. Yeah. I put up on Instagram last night for people to ask us questions, and I think we've covered this before, but this person asked me if I'd ever design a tarot deck, and the answer is I don't know. Well, somebody I have somebody I'm acquaintance with who essentially has created a tarot deck and just needs me to illustrate it, and I've been dragging my ass on it, and it's just been something that I feel like maybe the lack of personal resonance with it is what's holding me up. Yeah. And stylistically, I haven't quite found the voice for it yet, but people are always fucking asking like, your work would make a great tarot deck, and I heard it and I know, and I think about it from a financial standpoint. I'm like, oh, I could crush this, but obviously like that, if that's my initial motivation, it's not going to happen. God, man, so that's amazing. You have that ability. I got enough money. Right. Right. No, that's true. No, you do. How much money does a man need? Is that what it is though? Is it just the I mean, I thought that you were like, hey, my passion is in the right place in this thing, and so I'm not going to do it. And that's just the hallmark of a true artist. Well, yeah, just because I could do something doesn't mean I should. It's like whether I want to do it. And I'm not going to do something that I don't even understand. Yeah. I'll do a greeting card because I get how those work. You write in them and you give them to somebody else. Right. So tarot deck, I still kind of take the piss out of it whenever you guys pull out any of those decks. So for me to do it, it feels a little bit disingenuous. Yeah. And so that's fair. If I ever get to a point where I can get over that and recognize the value in it myself, I'll do it. But still, to me, it's like I don't look twice at tarot decks. Like I don't think of them as a tool or as anything. And I think that's kind of what. And then the second part of the question was, do you believe in tarot? And I think we kind of discussed that as really early on as like a tool, of something that you're getting to the answers that you already have inside of you. Absolutely, that's what it is. That's all it is for me. And anything beyond that, I mean, there's another question of what our thing is on psychics. And do I think that it's possible that there are some people who have their antenna so strongly tuned in that they can, feel. I mean, here's Trevor Long's story. He was a psychic, I guess, 2 weeks earlier, standing in that spot, feeling this thing coming that came. Why does it seem so rare? Like, why is it really like 99.99% of the population, it just doesn't have their antenna tuned to be able to have a psychic ability? Or is it not interpreted so consciously as a psychic ability, where we are all having psychic things throughout the day, but you wouldn't be like, open up a fucking shop and do palm readings because of it? Yeah. So put it this way. So you're somebody who I would have considered, and I did upon meeting you, a very conscious person, somebody who thinks about others. And I know you had this, you label yourself as a cynic, and we've discussed because it rhymed with went nice with mystical. Yeah, but it is a take, and it's one of those things that you're apt to take the piss out of something as a means of connecting with it, maybe even like as an entryway, without even knowing it. That's what it is. Like, prove me wrong, please. I don't want to be in this. For sure. And so I just think that for you, starting meditation and seeing how different your days are going, and the work that you're putting in to do it, to be able to see things differently and to be able to relax and be able to have your antenna more tuned, and all of what's occurring since you've started, says that even the most conscious people who make conscious art, who care about the world, still are not, their antenna is not tuned just because you have all those things. You're still clouded by thought, and you're breaking through that right now and seeing the difference. And so I think, yes, most people haven't had that experience. I think most people fit into the category of, they don't even fit into the category of when I met you, of thinking about the global implications of your actions and all that, So yeah, I think that's what it is. And I think the more that the people who traditionally had these kinds of abilities are not saturated in culture. They're just not saturated in day-to-day to-do lists. They've, most of them have been given space and developed this monastically or whatever,
Yeah.
But I think we all have this ability, and that's what all these stories of synchronicities are that are coming in. They're pouring in, to this show. So yeah, I think that we have the ability to do it, but we're not giving ourselves the opportunity.
All right.
That was easy.
That was a good one. Do you want to talk about veganism?
So I talked about it. I don't know where you are in the show, April. It's EH underscore April. April. It says, what are your views on veganism in regards to ascending in consciousness? Honestly, I thought that at one point. I thought, I mean, here's the thing. The Dalai Lama eats meat on Thursday.
No shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And he has for a long. Yeah. He has this, I think it's a blood type thing, but basically his life would be cut short if he didn't eat meat.
On Thirsty Thursdays.
Yeah. And there's this whole ritual that goes into it. But on Thursdays, he consumes animal. And I don't know what kind, but I know that this is the deal. So if he can do it, and he does it because his physician has said, we want you to live, we want you to have a prosperous life, and your life will be cut short if you don't, because your blood type demands this. So how he can make it virtuous just says that it's an activity that can be done virtuously, I think. And I'm somebody who very rarely eats any sort of meat, and usually it's just fish.
Except for that bomb ass turkey I smoked on Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's right. That was amazing. And there's my friend getting this amazing turkey and making something. It was a rare situation. And also monks, when they're on the road, when they're in somebody else's house, if they're offered a meal, even if it's meat, they have to eat it. That's another part of the thing.
I didn't realize monks were so codependent.
Yeah, I guess it's just the thing of like, you don't turn down sustenance.
Sure,
you don't turn down
after the animal's been slaughtered, and it's like, no, okay, well, we'll throw your portion away in the trash.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Well, and this kind of that same notion, sort of a pupil of mine wrote me yesterday and said, I've really been helping this person, and you've always told me that I should do this, that I should help people in this way and share my experience. And this person's really been helped, and they just won't shut up about it. And he didn't say it that way, but he's like, they just are coming at me constantly with all this praise, and I feel really uncomfortable taking the praise. And I was like, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to take the praise, because then you'll be cutting off someone's generosity, somebody feeling something. Just accept it. You do not have to take it. You don't have to get high on it. Give it back to the people that taught you in your mind. Just direct it back to all the people that have ever taught you anything.
That's really sweet.
But allow it to go down, because have you ever like tried to really thank somebody and they just won't do it? It's like something stops, an energy exchange stops.
Yes,
you stunt them from being able to be generous.
Right.
I used to turn down, people go like, hey, can I buy you lunch? And we're standing in line or something. And I used to go, oh, no, because, you want to come off humble. You won't want to accept things from people. But now I know that people know what they're doing, and they want to find a way to be able to help. And that may be the only way that they can help that day is buying you a meal.
Yeah.
It may be the most virtuous thing they do all day.
Yeah.
You're going to stop that just because and so there's of course, you don't go into it with the motivation of getting anything from anyone. That's not why you help. But if that comes as a natural result, and within reason, obviously somebody offered to buy you a house that you're a client of, or that is your client, that's.
If you're in line to buy a house, I was like, hey, I buy you this house. It's like, whoa.
There's some weird thing. And I think I don't know if it's in the clinical world or if it's in the, or if it's in the therapy world, but like there's a certain amount of a gift that you can accept.
Yeah, right.
It's like up to $50.
Yeah.
I think, and anything under, you know, and so people would want to give us crystals all the time, but some of them have purchased them and like,
I see the receipt.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what, you know?
Also then putting the value, like we talked about a while back, of putting a value on something that just came from the earth.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Father John Misty and the stolen.
Just in that vein of not cutting off a channel of gratitude or a channel of accepting something kind. I had this moment with Viana recently where I have this habit or this feeling around it's so painful for me to repeat myself and to tell somebody something I've already told them. And
I know. And you don't like, yeah.
Oh, well, so,
you'd be like, wait, we talked about this. That's what you would say when we first started our friendship. Like, because about you repeating yourself? Yeah, no. And you'd go like, hey, yeah, no, I told you this last week.
Oh yeah.
You would do that a lot.
Well, that's different because you're the one who forgot it.
Right.
If I'm the one who forgot that I told you something, I'm telling you again, and now
that
you're
rarely
sitting
happens.
here going, "You fucking told me this already." It happens a lot with well, I don't really see people anymore, but it used to happen a lot with Instagram where I'd go, "Oh, hey, I put out this new thing," and they'd be like, "Yeah, I know you posted about it." And I'd be like,
wow.
Oh, and that's really just a whole nother level of embarrassment.
Sure,
I'm like so full of myself that anyway. But Viana put it in a great way where like I'll say, "Please stop me." If I'm sharing something with you and I've already shared it, and Viana would say, I'm not going to do that because I want to give you that chance to have that same level of excitement. Like you're so proud or you're feeling so good about something that to then cut you off and be like, you already shared this with me.
Right.
And then that to like, you get so deflated. So like, no. Like I can stand hearing it again and not judge you or be like, you fucking told me this already. And so it was just a nice way to reframe it. And I know where it comes from. It comes from my dad who used to do it ad nauseum, repeat himself from having, kicking back the sauce a little too much and completely forgetting what he talked about the night before. And I'm like, so I'm just like, there's an annoyance to it of just like, you already fucking told me and you don't have the sense of mind that you knew you said this already. So, with everything's got a story back to the way your parents fucked you up.
Right.
I love you, Dad.
No. And that thing, imagine what it's like to be me. Like my whole primary method of healing is storytelling.
Right.
Is like pointing out how big the world is and like this kind of thing can happen. And so opening yourself up a bit to believing that and then walking through your own life and experiencing it is like largely how I work with people. And so, but we have a podcast. Lacey and I had this other podcast, and then I do an Instagram thing and then I work with people in sessions. So a lot of the time now when I'm working with somebody, if they've been listening to the show too, I go, hey, what, do you know the story? I just don't know what they've all heard.
Doing is like, it's as he said in episode 15, like you're quoting fucking scripture to it. As it was said in episode 15 of Buddhists can be dicks too.
Yeah. So I get a bit confused, and I asked him, I was like, hey, have I said the thing? Because I don't know where you're listening to me primarily.
Anyway. Oh, good shit, dude. Let's see. I think there might be one or two more here, and then I'm leaving.
By the way, thoughts and feelings about the movie Soul. I thought it was really done well. It was done in a way that didn't denote any religious sort of implications at all. This movie about reincarnation and what happens to the soul afterwards. Heaven wasn't really in the picture. The bardo wasn't really in the picture. Like a lot of the traditions, like the animators and the storytellers came up with a way to be able to talk about what happens when you die that has no significance or tied to any religion. Did you see it?
I haven't. Several people have told me I should.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's really good.
Be a little weird for a 38-year-old man to sit around and watch a Pixar movie by himself.
I don't know. No? It's made really for us.
Yeah.
Like, and they make it in a genius way to be able to reach kids too.
For sure.
But I got more out of watching, when Tiger was 3, I started watching Kung Fu Panda. And that fucking movie is amazing.
Philosophy in it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, totally. Jesus. All right.
My friend of the show, Matt Meyer, asked if we'd ever do an episode fully nude. I would totally do that.
Yeah, I would do it.
I think we should be naked with each other. We have a photo shoot coming up soon, and I considered us, the classic picture of two men facing away from the camera and their butts showing and holding hands. Well, we can maybe do that. I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe do the Red Hot Chili Pepper sock thing, but
If you want to put a sock on your ding dong, that's fine.
What would be the spiritual thing? Like a potpourri sack?
That's what I call my sack. Somebody just wrote, "I'm sad," in the question and answer, and I'm sorry that you're sad. I think that maybe it'll pass.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't,
Nothing lasts.
yeah,
Nothing lasts. So, and we're thinking about you right now, not knowing who you are.
yeah,
And so things are moving.
yeah, for sure.
Things
for
are moving.
sure.
Things are changing.
Yeah,
You were sad.
that things that nothing or this won't last forever. That thing I had in my car for a while.
Yeah.
I come back to it all the time, especially when I'm at my most joyous.
Yeah.
And just thinking of like, okay, cool. Like, that idea of being fully present in it and knowing that it won't last is
Right.
a great way to go through it.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
Favorite soul record?
I would like to go a little contemporary with it and throw some Leon Bridges in there.
Oh, yeah, he's
Just
great.
because not that everything's like been done before, but he found a way to capture that sound unlike anyone I've heard of in contemporary place. And he did it like he put his first album out when he was like 19. It's like fucking crazy. That goes back to like, we got a lot of gingy in your stash there.
I just got a burst.
Just in that way that dudes and ladies used to be so prolific at such young ages that I feel like that's a rare thing or a level of maturity at a young age. Like Otis Redding was,
Right.
like 20 and you'd be like, how's that dude fucking 20?
Yeah.
And so the way that Leon Bridges did that, I think that's incredible.
He's like the extension of one of the early soul singers who was an activist in his music that kind of slid under the radar of activism. Sam Cooke. Mm-hmm. Like one of my favorite songs of all time of his is "A Change Gonna Come," and he's writing about civil rights and doing it in this beautiful cinematic. It's at the high point actually in the Malcolm X film that Spike Lee directed. There's he's heading into where he's going to be assassinated and that song's playing and it's just left this imprint that music can do. But Sam Cooke's amazing. And he does it. Whoa. He does this in every song. Whoa.
He sings about the river in
Yeah, take me to the river.
Leon Bridges has, no, that's Leon Bridges.
Yeah, that's Leon.
There's a river reference in I Was Born by a River.
Oh yeah,
Change
I
Gonna
was
Come.
born by
All right,
the
Jamie,
river.
Jesus Christ. Save it for the CDs.
So no, that's amazing. And Leon Bridges is great and great contemporary soul singer. And my two from the past, which are just continue to amaze me. And when I was turned on to them, I felt cooler than I was because now I knew about this music. One of them is Sly and the Family Stone, Fresh. That record, I think it's their second record. They're a multicultural, they're like multi-race group. White people, black people, Asian,
Yeah, we know
Latino.
we know what multicultural is.
Okay, you're going to leave somebody out if you keep, but this record from the start, the first song is a song called In Time, and just put on the first song and see if you don't feel cooler now that you know this.
Nice.
All right. And that whole record is amazing. He was just a genius of his time. And the album cover is so great. He's flying through the air in like a karate chop with a white background and he has this huge afro. That record continues to astound and amaze me. And the other one is Stevie Wonder's Inner Visions, which the cover art is amazing too. It's him sitting with his eyes closed. It's a drawing, and then and there's a projection going out from his mind, and you're seeing like all of what he sees.
Yep.
And it's just full of amazing, amazing songs. And he's playing all the instruments on it, which is something that isn't talked about enough. But Stevie's playing drums, he's playing bass, keyboards, he's singing all these parts, and it's just like a one-man band of a record that all came from the music in his mind.
Yeah, nobody saw that coming.
He'd like that joke.
Anything else?
Let's see. Were there any others?
Yeah, but we don't have much time. There's some deeper ones that maybe we can cover in the next episode.
Okay, that sounds good.
Some deep cuts.
Yeah, perfect. Well, so we're recording this a day early, and Friday's episode is going to be a guided meditation. And I'm really grateful to Darren to offer this, and it's the meditation in the way that we first started working together, and he came and sat in on some meditations, and it's this one, it's the Tibetan tradition. And I'm excited that more people that get to use it.
Yeah.
And we're going to record it here in the closet.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I think. And so look for that Friday. And, that's all I have.
And you're leaving. Are you going somewhere?
Yeah, going to Joshua Tree. Yeah. We keep doing this dance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the Ojeda J tree.
Exactly.
Something pulling us and pushing us.
Yeah.
Well, have a good time.
Thanks. Aww.
And I'm going to go camping on Wednesday night.
Oh, sweet. For how long?
Just for the night.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yep.
That's great.
Sleep on the roof of my car. I got a roof tent. You're
going to be warmer now?
I got a new sleeping bag yesterday and a new mattress, and just sleeping somewhere else. Honestly, it's just to get to a cup of coffee in the morning. That cup of coffee is like just peace, presence, harmony, everything
that
within
is so great.
Mug of fucking brown bean water. It's like incredible.
Wow, man. Yeah. I'm so happy for you. That's a great, I remember this one time on a psilocybin trip, I got in touch with the same feeling that I just had from you describing that, where I saw a friend who had just got a blanket, and I felt like, oh my God, I'm so glad he has that.
Yeah.
Like it was cold and I saw him find one, and I'm like, the regard I had for him having this blanket is the same that I just had for thinking about you in this coffee like this, that it means so much to you in the morning to get to that. And it awakens all
Let's have more moments like that the rest of the week, folks. Like let's have little levels of appreciation for seeing, whether it's in yourself or recognizing it in someone else, to really like, because that's presence right there. The only way you can enjoy that so fucking fully is being right there with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then gramming about it.
Yeah. Right. Don't forget to gram about it.
In the moment right now, I just had to share with you guys.
Hashtag mystical cynical.
Patreon.com/mystical cynical. Speaking of which, it's a way to support the show. If you don't know by now, 19 episodes in, that is the easiest, best way to help us out and keep us going and doing this. And we have some stuff that I was the one who was like, we're never going to do anything to reward you people for giving us your money other than this podcast.
I knew this would happen.
I know. I'm like a little kid. I get so excited about this kind of stuff. So we got some stuff coming, and I think we're going to level out the pledge reward tiers as to what you get.
Let me just say the $20 pledge is a pretty sweet thing. It's a sweet, swanky gift.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Have a good trip.
Thank you, and have a good camp, and have a great week, everyone.
Yes, love you.
Love you.